Looking at the CISSP Domain 4.0 requirements, the standards for communication and network security dictate strict attention to performance metrics and network monitoring. While TCP/IP is the primary protocol suite for most networks, it has numerous inherent security deficiencies. Protecting the confidentiality and integrity of transmitted data requires the implementation of specific subprotocols. To sustain a functioning network environment, architects build in mechanisms designed to detect, prevent, and correct data transportation errors. These networks handle a massive volume of traffic, routing millions of packets every second across infrastructure that assumes every connected node is trustworthy. The central engineering challenge is forcing trust onto this architecture. Because the base protocols of the internet cannot be rewritten, architects must build trusted pathways on top of them. This is achieved through layered encapsulation, wrapping sensitive data in a secure protocol before sending it across the open TCP/IP network. Network security has evolved as a direct response to these foundational flaws. Every VPN and encrypted session acts as a necessary patch for the holes left by the original internet designers. The process of securing direct network links began with the point-to-point protocol, or PPP. It was designed to replace the serial line internet protocol known as SLIP. Unlike SLIP, which offered no authentication or error detection, PPP introduced automatic connection configuration and options for verifying identity. Initial options were PAP, which transmits clear-text credentials, and CHAP, which uses a challenge-response dialog. By requiring the client to compute a response based on a password hash and a server-issued random number, CHAP prevents replay attacks. However, because CHAP is based on the MD5 hashing algorithm, it is no longer considered secure by modern standards. Microsoft addressed these weaknesses with MS-CHAP v2, which updated the underlying algorithms and added optional session encryption. The failure of simple hashing protocols forced to move toward broader frameworks. Architects needed a way to support modular authentication methods without rebuilding the entire network stack. This led to the development of the Extensible Authentication Protocol, or EAP. EAP acts as a framework that supports over 40 different authentication methods. Some early methods, such as EAP MD5 and Cisco's proprietary LEAP, are now deprecated legacy solutions. PEAP encapsulates EAP traffic entirely within a secure TLS tunnel for secure mutual authentication. EAP TTLS extends this by forming a VPN-like tunnel before authentication, ensuring the username is never transmitted in clear text. The framework also supports specialized hardware, such as EAP SIM for mobile devices on GSM networks, and EAP IKE v2 for mutual authentication using symmetric or asymmetric keys. For Internet of Things devices without pre-configured credentials, EAP Noob provides a bootstrapping solution using out-of-band channels like QR codes or NFC tags. These protocols facilitate mutual authentication, ensuring both the client and the server are verified before data is exchanged. This complexity is a requirement of the modern network edge. From smart cards to IoT sensors, the authentication framework must accommodate a vast diversity of hardware. The practical implementation of these encapsulated EAP methods is IEEE 802.1x. Formally named Port-Based Network Access Control, 802.1x applies to any network link, including wireless connections and VPNs. It ensures that clients cannot communicate with any internal resources until a dedicated AAA server, like Radius or TACAX Plus, verifies their credentials. The 802.1x device acts as an authentication proxy, forwarding the client's EAP requests to the backend server. No communication is allowed until the authentication process is finalized, effectively turning the network port into a gatekeeper. Because this authentication occurs only when the connection is established, 802.1x can be vulnerable to adversary in the middle or hijacking attacks. To counter this, administrators implement periodic mid-session reauthentication and use smart patch panels that monitor MAC addresses for sudden hardware changes. 802.1x serves as the port-based decision point, using identity verification to determine whether a connection is allowed or denied. While authentication covers confidentiality and integrity, architects must also secure the third pillar of the CIA triad, availability. Quality of service, or QoS, is the management of network efficiency and performance, protecting the availability of the network under load. In fact, QoS functions as a primary security control by actively protecting the continuous availability of data networks under heavy load. Administrators monitor several performance metrics to determine network health, including bandwidth, latency, jitter, throughput, and the signal-to-noise ratio. Based on these metrics, network traffic is adjusted or throttled to account for unwanted conditions. This prioritization ensures that time-sensitive traffic, such as VoIP, is accelerated, while non-critical data transfers are held back. Monitoring QoS ensures that essential business operations remain available and protected during traffic spikes or network attacks. The shift towards secure voice communications has converged voice services directly into the IP infrastructure. Organizations often operate under the assumption that VoIP traffic is protected by end-to-end encryption, similar to modern web traffic. However, VoIP encryption is rarely end-to-end. It is typically limited to a provider's proprietary implementation and specific compatible hardware. When communicating with the user on a different network, the traffic must often traverse a VoIP to PSTN gateway. As this text explains, traffic may be encrypted from the phone to the gateway, but it must be decrypted to traverse the intermediary network. Even when protocols like SRTP are used, data is exposed in the clear at the point of handoff, unless both endpoints use the same provider and compatible configurations. This structural vulnerability is exploited through voice-based social engineering, where adversaries falsify caller ID to mask their identity. Known as vishing, this threat requires a combination of strong passwords, call log inspection, and the implementation of NIPS with VoIP evaluation features. Because technical controls like EAP and QoS cannot account for every human variable, secure communication ultimately relies on clear policies, such as the rule to never change or give out passwords via voice-only communications.